Hey guys, welcome back. Today's video is going to be all about how to find your therapist. Before I get started, I want to ask, are you subscribed yet? If not, make sure that you smash that subscribe button and hit that thumbs up button. My 9-year-old watched a few of my videos and that was his feedback. He said he needed to say something kind of like that. But really interacting with my videos and giving them a thumbs up or leaving a little comment really helps promote my channel to other people that could really benefit from it. And also subscribe because I release 2 mental health videos per week. How awesome is that? So today's video is going to be about how to find your therapist. And I think there's a lot of content out there about how to find a therapist in general, although I am going to cover that in this video as well. However, it is more than just finding a therapist. It is really important that you find your therapist, someone that is right for you. And I don't think that this point is talked about enough. And I cannot emphasize the importance of finding the right therapist for you. Because therapists, like doctors, specialize in different things. And the therapeutic relationship is a really unique one. As like every other relationship, it's very important that you're able to trust and connect with your provider. So the first thing I'm gonna do is talk about how to find a therapist, how to actually connect within the field, a mental health practitioner within the field. And then the other thing that I'm gonna do is talk about how to find and how to know if it's the right therapist for you. So going through some factors to consider when you're trying to match or connect with a therapist. So first thing, how do you find a therapist? One of the easiest ways to find a therapist is to go through your insurance panel. And this is nice for a couple different reasons. The first thing is that you're going to know that you're covered. Therapists that are on your insurance board or insurance panel have undergone a process to make sure that they are connected with your insurance company in order to cover your treatment. So from a financial standpoint, this is really important because paying out of therapy can be really expensive. So going through your insurance panel will not only ensure that the services are covered by your insurance company, it will also give you a really long list of therapists that are available in your area. The second way you can find a therapist is to go through your PCP or primary care physician. A lot of the times when something kind of starts to go wrong, that's usually where we start. We go and we tell our doctor that, hey, things aren't right, I'm feeling kind of anxious. And that provider can help connect you with specialized therapy support. Usually it's through the same medical network. And there are pros and cons to that, as it does limit your ability to seek providers that might not be in that same medical network. Like we have a few really big hospitals in my area, and if we go to the physician that is in the affiliated medical network, they're most likely going to connect you or connect me with someone that is in the same network, which can be fine. However, the options can be fairly limited. Number 3 is a referral from a friend. Do you know a friend that's been in therapy recently and can refer you to whoever their therapist was if they had a good experience with that therapist? This method does require you to be open and transparent about the fact that you're seeking therapy, and sometimes that can be hard for some people. However, if you know someone personally that's had a really good experience with a therapist, that could be a really good place to start. The fourth way to connect with a therapist is to do an internet search, and this is probably the best way if you really want to broaden your results. So a lot of internet sites like Psychology Today, they actually have a Find Your Therapist feature where you can go and you can type in your city, your zip code, and your state and find therapists in your area. And the really great thing about this option is that each therapist usually includes like a little bio about themselves. It kind of talks about what they treat, the types of treatments that they use, where they're located, things like that. And sometimes they even link to their personal website, so you're able to check out their personal website as well. And a lot of clinicians use Psychology Today, so I will leave a link to that site in my description box below so you can check that out if you want to. An important thing to verify if you're doing an internet search is to make sure that the clinician takes your insurance. Each clinician takes different kinds of insurance. So when we go to apply for insurance panels, we select which insurance companies that we want to work with. So they're all different, so make sure that that is something that you're verifying. Or if you don't or can't find someone that you want to see that does take your insurance, see if they offer a sliding scale. A sliding scale is an adjustment that's usually based on your income and how much you would be expected to pay out of pocket for services. Another really great thing about reading a bio on an internet search or visiting the therapist website is actually related to the second half of this video, which is on how to find the right therapist for you or how to find your therapist. Because really, I cannot emphasize enough on how important it is that you're seeing the right therapist. So I made a list of things to consider when looking for a therapist. All of these are really important and things that should be taken into consideration when you're trying to connect with a professional that can actually help you. So the first thing I want to talk about is making sure that the therapist that you're calling to set an appointment up or trying to see if they're taking new clients is to make sure that they know how to treat the issue that you're seeking therapy for. Therapists are not all created equal. It doesn't mean that one is better than the other one. It just means that some therapists know how to treat certain issues better than other therapists know how to treat them. So when you're going to find a therapist, make sure that they know what they're doing. Make sure that they know how to treat the condition or whatever it is that you're experiencing. So if you're trying to find someone that is really good with treating depression, you want to make sure that they have depression listed somewhere in their bio as something that they either specialize in or they're knowledgeable in how to treat it. Speaking of treatments, what type of treatments do they do? This should be listed as well somewhere in their bio or on their webpage. What kind of treatments does this therapist offer? What you really want to look for is something that we call evidence-based treatment, or EBT. This means that the treatment has scientific support that it actually works. And you would be amazed at how many therapists out there are practicing modalities of treatment that don't have any scientific evidence that states that it works for this. It's very, very common. So you want to make sure that they have evidence-based treatments. And things to look for evidence-based treatments would be something like CBT, or cognitive behavioral therapy, DBT, dialectical behavior therapy. We know that these treatments work for people because the science says that they work. And it's not to say that those are the only two things that'll work for someone, because I definitely believe that different types of treatments work for different types of people. Although we really want to make sure that the treatment that we're getting and that we're paying for, because therapy is really expensive, is something that's actually going to work for us. So if we're feeling anxious and have anxiety, we want to make sure that the treatment that we're receiving is something that is shown to be helpful for anxiety. The third thing, what are their credentials? AKA, do they have a license to do this? And if this information isn't freely listed on their page, make sure that you ask when you initially talk to someone on the phone or during your first session, because sometimes when you see someone's name and they have a bunch of letters that follow, we don't have any idea what those letters mean. I mean, what do those letters mean? And I do want to make a follow-up video to this one eventually talking about the different letters, because there's a lot of different letters. However, with finding a therapist, a few of the most common letters you will see, first thing is LPC, which is what I am, and it stands for Licensed Professional Counselor. Now my license is still in training, so mine says LPCIT for Licensed Professional Counselor in Training, but eventually after I secure all of my training hours, it will be LPC. That is a verified license by the state that I live in that I am qualified to do this type of work. Other letters, LCSW stands for Licensed Clinical Social Worker. Those are social workers that specialize in mental health treatment. And then PhD, which is Doctor of Philosophy, and PhDs that do therapy. They specialize usually in psychology or therapy or social work as well. Another really common one that you might run into depending on the issue that you're trying to seek treatment for is SAC, which stands for Substance Abuse Counselor. And these are individuals that have extensive training in treating substance abuse and are licensed to treat substance abuse clients. So why is all of this information important? Because believe it or not, there are people out there that are doing therapy without a license. They either had a license and they lost it, or they never had one to begin with. It does happen. It's more common than you probably think. And seeing someone that doesn't have a license to do this kind of work is like seeing a physician that doesn't have a medical degree or a medical doctor's license. So knowing what the clinician's license is and knowing what kind of education, why they're qualified to treat this particular disorder or whatever it is that you have going on, those are all really good questions to ask over the phone or during your first session. You have a right to know that information, so don't feel afraid to ask that information. And the clinician should feel perfectly, completely comfortable answering it for you. The last thing that I want to cover with finding a therapist that's right for you is asking yourself or investigating what are the personal values of the therapist and do they align with yours. So some important areas to investigate in this area would be something like spirituality and religion. What are the religious values of the therapist? Do they align with yours? Is it really important to you that you see a Christian counselor? That would be a really good question to ask over the phone or during your first session if you don't see it mentioned somewhere on their website. Are they LGBT friendly? Do they have experience treating older adults? How about people with disabilities? What is their cultural background? Do you as a person of color feel comfortable opening up to a white therapist? That's something that needs to be asked because it could make a really big difference in the therapeutic relationship that you are able to establish with this person. As a female, do you feel comfortable with a male therapist? These are all things to consider when trying to find the right therapist. And if at any time that you're meeting with someone and the vibe feels off, take note of that and trust that. The therapy relationship is a super, super personal relationship. So it is so important that you feel comfortable opening up to this person so they're able to help you. We can only help people that are able to open up to us to let us know what's going on. So if you feel like there's something in the way of you really being able to open up to your therapist, trust that. It might not be the right fit. All of us therapists, we're like people. We're all different from one another. We all have different personalities, and sometimes people connect and sometimes they disconnect, and there is nothing different about the therapy relationship with that than it is with any other type of relationship. So I hope this video was really helpful in not only giving you tips on how to find a therapist, but things to consider when trying to find the right one, because I think that that is so important for really positive, good outcomes. When you go in, you're paying for therapy, it's not cheap, and you want to get actual real help. So there are a lot of things that can get in the way of that I think that some people don't really realize. So hopefully this was helpful in kind of looking at some of those different key issues that can come up. If you have any questions or need any clarification, leave a comment and I will get back to you. Thank you for watching my video. Again, make sure you subscribe and like the video. It really does help my channel. My name is Jenna. I'm a licensed psychotherapist. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.